Hi everybody, I'm Marie with Cruising This Old Boat, and today I'm going to show you how to make a sunscreen. I'm getting ready to make a pattern for a sunscreen, and I need double stick tape to put my pattern material onto the window to measure it out. If I put the double stick tape directly on the boat, it's really hard to get off because it's super sticky. So I'm using filament tape, which brings it off real easy. Okay, I'm using 3/8 inch basting tape for canvas. It's double stick tape. You place the double stick tape right on top of the filament tape, and once again, it doesn't have to be exact. It's just so your pattern fabric, your pattern material will stick to it. And you want to break it instead of cutting it. It makes it easier to remove the paper off the top of it. Then you remove the top layer of paper. I'm readjusting to get rid of any puckers, so it'll be a nice smooth fit. I like to just use the marker, mark my corners, mark a few other little spots, and cut it out on the cutting board. Keep in mind that when you make your cover, that over a period of time, the sun's actually going to shrink it a little bit. I wanted the cover to come all the way to the edge, but if you wanted to be more inside and show some of your frame, you could do that. If you wanted to snap out here, you could do that. So there's my pattern. So I'm using Tex. Not sure if I have that pronunciation properly, but you can purchase it online. This particular roll of sunscreen I purchased from Right. This edge right here I've cut off of before of the Tex, and so it's not straight, but the selvage is straight, so I'm going to use that for the bottom of the window. And you can weight it down with any kind of weights you have to keep the pattern from moving for cutting. But I'm just going to put a couple of pins here and there, far enough away from the edges that the ruler that I use to cut with won't, hopefully won't interfere with it. I might have to move some of the pins as we go. I'll just put 2 of them basically on it. I use a non-skid. It's non-skid on one side, which really helps, and it's got measurements on this side. And I'm going to be trimming right along. I'm going to be cutting right along my where I drew the magic marker line. You can use scissors, but I use a little cutting wheel. I have a cutting board underneath so it won't damage my table. I wish they made these a lot longer. You can use a yardstick, I suppose, like a metal one or something. So there is actually the window. It's the exact size to cover the wood around the window. The next step, and I will keep this on here, this pattern, I've got 2 pins in it, one here and one here, and I will keep this pattern on here until I first get started with the edging, and that way I make sure I know which is the out and which is the in. And that's not saying that this is right side. You can use either side, and you can have it at any angle for cutting on the fabric, but what I'm talking about is to make sure that it fits whatever window you're using it on. Okay, now it's ready for the next step. So I've got to cut some facings for along the edges to strengthen them up, and I use a 2-inch facing, makes it nice and strong. When I was cutting out my window shades, I had this little piece left over. It's still attached, nothing gets wasted. It'll be perfect for cutting out the facing for here. Use my trusty little board, just line it up at 2 inches. Make sure it will cover it completely. Perfect. So I cut 2-inch facings strips for every side. Let's see, which is the outside? The facing goes on the inside. That's why I had the pattern here, so I know which is the outside. The facing goes on the inside. Once you have one of the facings pinned on the inside, you can remove your pattern, because you now know which is the inside and which is the outside. When you come to, this is going to be an opening for the handle, for where we grab the handle on the door, and instead of trying to figure out an exact 2 inches all the way around, the easiest way is to just do 2 inches, I don't know if you can see that or not, 2 inches past the opening on either side, and then this will come over here and that will fill in. This one will come here and that'll fill in, and you'll have plenty of support, plenty of strength. You're actually overlapping some here. I'm using 3/8 inch and 1/4 inch basting tape. It's basically double stick tape for sewing. I'm going to use the thicker one on the inside and the thinner one on the outside edge. And the reason why is because when you go to sew, I want to try to avoid sewing through that tape. And I could use the thinner one on both of them, but the thicker one just helps hold it in place a lot longer and a lot sturdier, keeps it from moving. I know I'm going to be stitching right along the edge, so I'm going to be putting the tape just inside of that, and on this side I'm going to be putting the tape right next to the edge. So let's do that. Okay, so this is the one I'm going to get as close to the edge as possible. This one, since I'm going to be stitching on the outside edge, I just put it in a little ways. I bought this actually from Sellrite. It's got a metal rounded smooth edge, and I just use it to make sure that tape is embedded down into the Pfeiffer ticks. Peel the top layer off. Now this is going to be longer than it needs to be, which is nice. I can just cut off the excess later on. Once again, I force that tape into the pores. Gives it a good hold. I'll trim off exactly later, but I'm just going to get some of the excess off. You go all the way around your screen doing the same thing. Your corners are going to overlap. That makes 1, 2, 3 layers of material for each corner. Makes it super strong for where your snaps are going to be in the corners. And I also want to show you why I tape. You don't have to tape, you can just sew, but working with these, you know, when they're, even if I had more pins in here, it's still going to be more floppy and not as nice and smooth and easy to work with. Where you can see where I've already taped it, it's stiffened up, it's nice and firm, and will definitely be easy to work with. And now you can also see where I've crossed over, where it'll be easy for me to trim. I'll know exactly where to trim before I go sewing and putting the bias binding on. Now you have a nice corner there. It's the opening for the door handle. Awesome. And there you have it. It's ready to sew. You don't have any pins in it. Okay, so the next step is on the facing on the inside. I'm going to stitch not on this edge out here, but on the inside edge, just right close to the edge of here. You can see it lifts up a little bit because inside further is the double stick tape, the basting tape. I always back stitch. I start and then I go back and then start again. That ties the stitches down. It locks the stitches. I'm keeping the edge of the presser foot right on the edge of the facing. Okay, so I'm going to swing the bias tape arm back into place. I'm going to feed the end of the bias tape with the folds in. It's going to go, and actually you can see this little crease here, so it kind of gives you an idea. It's going to be folded just like this piece of metal is. And you feed it all the way in to where it's coming out on the other end. And you can see it right there. I want to get enough out to where I can get a little bit of forward and back sewing started. You're going to put this end here into the feeder for the bias binding, and you're going to push it all the way down to the end. Keep this in really tight right in here, otherwise you won't have it all the way. This is going to fold over in half like this, and you'll be stitching along those sides, stitching along the edges. Trim this edge because it's going to go right back into here. You have to have some patience when you're going through the really thick edges. So I stitch out past it just a little ways, so it will be ready to start the next one. You see, I leave the stitches already in there. Now, if you don't have one of these swing away bias binding things that folds your bias tape in half, you can do it by hand. This just makes it so much easier and neater, and it looks a lot more professional. Now I'll trim this close, and then I'll use my hot knife to sear the edges. I'm going to cut right close to it. Get that hot knife going. You can see the smoke. That just helps clean the look of it up a little bit and keeps it from raveling. Ron is getting ready to put the screws in for the snaps. Okay, I have my sunscreen is almost complete. On the inside I did a just a little T. You can't see it, but that's so you know which is the top. These that are super duper sharp, and you snap them on just like you would a snap, and then it's going to help me position the screen in place over the window. Then I'll know the exact position to put in the actual snaps in my sunshade. Okay, I've done these 3 already. I got one more to do right here, and it's just got to snap it on, and the first time it's not easy. So to make it easier to put these little guys on, you can use this tool here, and you slip it over like that and push. Alright, so you just go like that. I'm going to try to find the basic top to bottom, side to side. There it goes. The purpose of those are so you can adjust it and make it tighter. See, to me it's a little bit loose, so I'm going to stretch it a little bit from one corner to the next. It's already looking better. Oh, that's nice and tight. Okay, and then you put the one with the, not this end, but this end. And so you got to kind of create its own little hole there to push it on. And that's to protect you and to hold the snap on. Now I'm going to use this little tool right here to reach between to unsnap from the wall portion of the snap. And so now all I have to do is go in and replace it with the regular snap that will fit onto these. So I'm getting ready to put my button cap snaps onto the windscreen. So it's cloth to hard surface is what we're using. The hard surface was the screws that went into the wall, and now I'm doing the cloth ones. And you can use a different whatever tool you have to apply your snaps. You can use the hammer-on type ones. I'm just using this press and snap. So I put the cap in the top. And the snap goes on the bottom right here, and then you got to find your spot that you're going to do it. So I got to pull these off now, and I'm going to want to put it right where that hole is. And so you put that right through the center of the cap. And you pull this out here. Pull this part out, and you can use it for later. And then you're going to just press it. And you can give it a couple of good squeezes to make sure it's in there tight. You don't want your cap to spin. If your cap spins, then you will want to reset it a little bit. See, that's not spinning at all. There's no spinning going on. And it's very simple, actually. So I finished sewing it, and I'm going to put it in place. And there you have it. It's all done.
Thanks for watching.